Katarina's iPad, is that our new board member?
Wow.
Yes.
Think so. Let's find out. Here comes, it might be an applicant. Nope.
Who?
Nope.
Good
No,
job.
that's an applicant. Carolina is an applicant.
Yeah.
Joseph is an applicant. Darren is an applicant.
Hi, Kat. Oh, she's,
What? Jerry.
Can you hear me?
yep.
Yeah.
And Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, Art, how you doing?
Good, good.
Everything's ready, Art?
Okay, we're just waiting for Jerry, but we can start, because Jerry's not till the end. He'll join us as we go. We have enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Like to call the Town of Clinton Planning Board meeting to order at 7:30 on Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. Due to COVID-19 pandemic and pursuant to Executive Order number 202.1 issued on March 12th, 2020, suspending the open meetings law and emergency state and federal bans on large meetings or gatherings, the Town of Clinton Planning Board scheduled for June 1st, 2021 will be held electronically via Zoom instead of a public meeting open for the public to attend in person. Members of the public may view the board meeting as it is live streamed on YouTube, www.townofclinton.com/government/planning-board/videos/. Transcript of the meeting will be posted on the town's website at a later date. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a variance for DeMello and Clark. Do we have anybody in the Zoom audience here?
Should be Darren Davidovich, I would think.
Yeah, he's on the waiting room. Is Darren in?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Darren, everybody's in. I think you're up, Darren.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, sorry, it just came up.
Hi there, Dan. How are you?
Darren, doing well, thank you.
Good, good. Okay, yeah, you know, this is a two-step process. The planning board will review the variance and make a recommendation, positive, negative, or neutral. And then the zoning board of appeals will make the final decision on the variance. So if you can briefly tell us what you're here for, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Arlene, I think the next page would probably be the easiest. It's just a little more zoomed in. Yeah, the next sheet altogether. There you go. All right. And if you could just, yeah, scroll to the right there. Right. So you'll recall from prior meetings, there's a number of different structures on the property. This is 13 Mountain View, which is at the west end of Mountain View Road. And we've previously talked about all of them. Specifically, there's a large main house that there's an addition proposed to, a stone garage that we're proposing to convert to a detached accessory dwelling, a stable up on the hill, it's called Barn there. And the subject of tonight's meeting is what's called coop on this plan. And what we're here to talk about is the fact that the coop is just 56.4 feet from the property line, from the road, and does not meet the 100-foot setback requirement. The coop was originally built in 1974 and was recently taken down by us and is in the process of a reconstruction. But there was some confusion around the building permit, admittedly, probably most of it mine. And we're here to go through the procedure of getting hopefully a variance to allow the building to remain at the 56.4 feet off of the property line, because it does not meet that setback requirement. And, construction has completely stopped on the building while we wait the outcome of that variance. And, that's what we're here tonight to ask for the referral for. Just a little bit of background on the building, some highlights as far as some of the things we would discuss with the ZBA. The building is actually about 18 feet further away from the property line than the main house is, and that's by virtue of that bend in the road there. So we previously received a variance to allow the main house to be its current 37.7 feet from the road, and would be seeking a second variance to allow this coupe, or what we call a garage, to be 56.6 feet from the road. Also of significance is that our proposal involves reconstructing the building to look the same way as it does today from the road. So just an updated version of this existing building, remaining at about 5.5 feet tall as it's viewed from the roadway. So very, very low building and profile on the side that faces the road. And then in keeping with all of the features of an agricultural building, a darker color scheme, divided light windows, a metal roof, wood siding. So very much what's being proposed is just an update to this building to allow it to be used for cars rather than poultry, which it was originally used for back in the 70s and 80s, I suppose.
Jack?
A few questions, if you don't mind. What's the height of the new building compared to the chicken coop?
It's the same on the roadside. So the roadside is 5'6" tall, and that would remain. I might be off by an inch or so there, but when you look at the architectural plans, you'll see that back wall is actually a little taller than that, but it's been designed with a bit of concrete in it so that we can grade up on the building to allow it to still appear as 5'6" from grade.
And what is the height from the ground at the?
From the ground to the peak is 11'6". And the prior building was 9'2". So it would gain about 28 inches in height.
Okay.
And that was just enough to allow us to get a roof with enough pitch on it to let things drain off.
Okay, one of the things we have to look at is whether this could have been achieved by other methods. And you say that it couldn't because it is officiating pre-existing nonconformities. Maybe you can amplify that for us a little bit. I looked at it, and there's about 100 feet between where the garage / coupe is and where the barn is. So the question I've got is, once the coupe is demolished, why couldn't you have extended the driveway a little bit as it shows on this plan and just move the coupe back to where it was 100 feet, move the garage back to where it was 100 feet from the roadway?
Another 40 or so feet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I suppose if we hadn't set out on the path of, the hope was that we were going to be able to reuse the slab, let's call it, that was in the original coupe. At first it appeared it was quite thick, and that with a little bit of frost protection, it would have been sufficient if we just overpoured it. And it turned out as we started to take the building down that wasn't going to end up working. But, we had committed to the location of just a replacement in its exact spot, and frankly, just stuck with that. The intent was to put the same building back where it was. Now I suppose we're, a bit far along. It would be a pretty big hardship financially, granted self-imposed, to move it anywhere else.
Okay. And that was sort of my next question. When you were here before, you asked for and we recommended a variance on the main house for the reconstruction. Is there some reason you didn't at that time or later ask for a variance on the coop until, you know, the CEO turned up.
You know, I wish I had. I would have been a lot farther along in the process. You know, frankly, just because we weren't adding to it, it was, you know, we had a building permit in hand. I even mentioned that, you know, fact when I was last year, and, you know, we were just thinking we were rolling ahead with that one. And, you know, frankly, I should have, but I didn't question the reason why it didn't need a variance like the other building. I just drew the conclusion that since we weren't adding a big addition to the back, it was fine. Since we had been given, you know, we had submitted 4 building permits for this property actually, and we were granted 2 of them, this being one of them.
What's happening to the existing 3-car garage? Are we going to have 6-car garages now, or is the old one being destroyed?
On the main house?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a 3-car garage on the main house. The issue with it is it has very low doors and it's very shallow. So it actually doesn't fit much more than a Jeep Wrangler. So the clients were hoping to get, you know, like a farm tractor and put it in here. And, you know, if they were to get a larger vehicle, an SUV or something, the idea would be to put it in here.
There's no law that says you're limited to 3. Okay. For the board, this is one where you could be technical and say, you know, it's substantial, it's self-created, they didn't ask for it before, they could have moved it back. But my feeling, and I'm certainly open to be persuaded differently on this, is that looked at overall, a new garage is at least as good as an old chicken coop. And in looking at the totality of the thing, I would lean towards a positive recommendation, but I stress if other people, you know, feel differently, I could easily write it going the other way.
Does anybody on the board have any questions or thoughts on this?
I didn't have any issues with it. I mean, I think it goes with the design of, you know, the entire project, and they're trying to, you know, modernize a historic farm and keep it looking, you know, farmy, but with new construction. I also think the location of the garage, I mean, yeah, you can move it, but one thing I mean, at least from my perspective, is that I assume your garage wants to be as close as it can or walkable to the house. And so, you know, I don't know. I don't see this as different than other than the construction having started, different than a lot of things where, yeah, there might be better locations or different locations, but if the people want it there and it serves a purpose, you know, I don't think it is going to be unsightly from the road.
I don't disagree with that at all. I just really wanted to put the issue out there for people to have a second to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Did you say the height was going to be the same as the chicken coop from one side?
From the roadside, yes.
So is that large enough for a large vehicle?
It is. So the way we'll accomplish that is we're cheating the grade just a little bit by bringing the concrete wall in the back along, I'll call the back the roadside for the moment. We're bringing the concrete up a little bit higher so that it allows us to grade up higher so we can keep that original profile of a chicken coop.
So there'll be excavation being done to do that?
I'm sorry?
There'll be excavation to be done to do that? Or to grade it? I mean, you mentioned grading.
Yeah, the excavation, it's breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry, some of your words were missed there. But yeah, so in other words, the inside of the building will be a little bit taller than the outside of the building. So you'd almost like hit your head on the roof the way you would with the coop there. But on the inside of the building, it's still fairly low for a garage. You'd have a little bit of a hard time, someone tall walking all the way to the back wall. So the way we've reconciled that the inside is deeper, let's call it, than the outside is because the dirt comes up on the building quite a bit. And then, you know, the plans are to put a good amount of buffer plantings along the roadside as well.
Okay, Jack?
I have a proposed resolution. Whereas One, applicants Michael Clark and Charmaine DeMello, excuse me, seek a recommendation from the planning board regarding their request for an area variance to permit construction of a garage 56.6 feet from the road, which is 43.6 less than the 100-foot setback required by section 250 attachment 2. Two, the property in question is in excess of 10 acres and is located at 13 Mountain View Road in an AR5 zone in the town of Clinton, long number. The structure in question was formerly a large chicken coop. Applicants proposed to construct a 1,011 square foot 3-car garage, which they state will have the same foot as the former chicken coop. The coop has been demolished. Construction on the garage was substantially advanced with the foundation laid and the building framed when it was halted by the zoning enforcement officer for lack of an area variance. The proposed structure will not produce an undesirable change to the neighborhood. Applicants state the garage will be designed and graded to minimize the quote perceived size of the building. The proposed building is the same size and in the same footprint as the prior structure. Applicants assert the height of the new garage will be 11 feet 6 inches compared to the prior structure of 9 feet 2 inches. The new building will be painted in dark colors, quote, to tone down the appearance of the building. Applicants will plant a mixture of evergreen and deciduous trees between the building and the road. Applicants state that the benefit could not be achieved by other methods because it is, quote, officiating pre-existing nonconformities. However, once the prior chicken coop was demolished, the proposed garage could have been located 40 feet further back on the property and the new driveway extended to it, thus avoiding a need for an area variance. Applicants state that the location of the building serves as a visual and sound buffer for the property, quote, without it, the feel and look of the site would be compromised. The proposed change is substantial. Applicants argue effectively that the footprint will be the same. The fact is that a new large building will be created. The difficulty is self-created. We note the applicants previously sought the planning board recommended an area variance for their main house, which is also closer to the road than permitted as a pre-existing structure, which they propose to modify. In contrast, they did not seek a similar area variance for this garage, which also replaces a prior non-conforming structure until the issue was called to their attention. The new building was well underway. The variance will not have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental condition in the neighborhood. The prior structure was in need of substantial repair or demolition. While some of the considerations set out in section 250-98 are either not met or are close questions, the board concludes that the totality of the circumstances favor a variance. The new garage is at least as good as an old chicken coop. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the planning board respectfully makes a positive recommendation to the zoning board of appeals with respect to applicants' request for an area variance for the proposed garage.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Art, aye.
Justin, I.
Henry, I.
Back aye.
Cat eye.
Okay, opposed? So moved. Okay, Darren.
All right, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your patience.
Okay, Arlene will get you the date for the zoning board of appeals, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Have a good night.
You.
too. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Willozin, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Willozin area variance. Do we have anybody in our Zoom audience for that?
I am.
Hi there,
Hi, how are you?
and you are?
Carolina Voloshin.
Okay. I don't know if you've heard the previous applicant, but this is a two-step process. The planning board will review your application and make a recommendation to the zoning board of appeals, who will make the final decision our recommendation will be positive, negative, or neutral. So if you can briefly tell us what you're doing, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay, I want to get approval for an above ground pool in my backyard, and I only have about 54 feet. My drawing isn't as good as the last one, but I only have 51 feet in my backyard, and the pool from the edge to my neighbor's property line would be 16 feet. It's kind of the only place I can put it. If I put it on the bigger part of my side yard, it would be access, like all my neighbors would see us, and it wouldn't look so nice there. So that's kind of the only place I can put it.
Okay. Justin?
Yep. So just to give a little more context with the drawing, this house is, I don't know if it's considered a corner lot, but the road comes at the bottom of your screen and kind of goes up the right side. Yeah, right there, and it goes up. So she's right that kind of along that road, if it was anywhere else, you're really going to see it because it's just flat grass. If you scroll up, Arlene, the property line behind here is a row of trees. And so it's going to be screened from the neighbor. And then I think another helpful fact is that exactly on the other side, within a similar location in their yard setback, those owners have an above ground pool as well. So I think it's consistent with the neighborhood, and no one's going to be offended, and the screening is there. You're only really going to be able to see it on the approach from East Cookingham, kind of looking diagonally through the shed in the house, but it's as well hidden as you're going to get. There's a nice little nook with natural screening in place. So as far as locations go, I think she's right that this is the best one for it. And it's a 1 acre lot in a 5 acre, zoning district. So it's non-conforming. There's just not a ton of space generally to put it anywhere else.
Okay. Anybody else on the board have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Justin?
Okay, I've got a resolution of the Town of Clinton Planning Board making a positive recommendation to the ZBA and the requested area variance to section 250 attachment 2, reducing the rear yard setback from 75 to 16 feet to build an above ground pool as requested by Carolina Volajan on property located at 150 East Cookingham Drive, tax grid number in an AR5 zoning district. Whereas the applicant's requesting a reduction in the rear yard setback from 75 feet to 16 feet to build an above ground pool in the rear yard setback on a 1.04 acre non-conforming lot. The property is in an AR5 zoning district. The property is not within a Ridgeline Scenic and Historic Protection Overlay District. The property is not in a CEA. The variance requested is substantial. However, the location of the pool will be screened by trees, and there is no other location on the property that is more suitable for a pool. An undesirable change will not be produced in the character of the neighborhood or be detrimental to nearby properties. As this non-conforming lot is among others with above ground pools located in setback areas in the same neighborhood, the applicant cannot achieve the same benefit by some other method. The proposed variance should not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The alleged difficulty is self-created, but should not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance considering the surrounding conditions. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board is making a positive recommendation for the approval to the Clinton ZBA for this requested variance.
Second.
Discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Art, aye.
Justin,
Sure.
aye.
Ed, I.
Jerry, aye.
All right.
Okay, opposed? So moved. Okay. You're all set from here. Arlene will give you the date of the zoning board meeting, and hopefully everything will run smoothly for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Augstein demo permit. Again, am I pronouncing that correctly? And do we have anybody in the,
I'm here, Joseph.
okay, am I pronouncing that correctly? No.
It's okay. It's Augstein, but it doesn't bother me at all. It's totally-
Okay, yeah, all right. Can you briefly explain what you're doing here, and then we'll talk about it?
Sure. So I am looking to demolition a 10 by 24 accessory structure, which is currently used as like a garden shed for lawnmowers and stuff like that. Got two overhangs, which are 12 by 24 each, one of which actually has already collapsed. So I have removed that to provide, make sure that my daughter doesn't get injured playing around over there. But the other one is still up. I'm looking to remove it. The building's failing, and I'm looking to put in actually I already have a permit for a metal structure, like a prefabricated metal building to go in its location. You're seeing images of the building itself right now. Obviously you can see that's the roof where the, opening to the sky. There's lots of mold. It's just not really functioning as a garage structure. So the next image is the scale drawing of it.
Okay.
And I would like to remove it.
Okay, Justin, you're on again.
Okay, back to back. You guys are working me hard. So just to refresh the board's recollection, last time there was a wetlands permit originally on the agenda, and this is the property with a tiny pond, and we determined that it didn't need a wetlands permit because it was too small to trigger any of the different size requirements for a wetland. So that's, if you're looking at the map and you see the little pond and the setback, that's really irrelevant here because it's such a small body of water, it doesn't meet the thresholds for that. And with the demolition, this is within all the, it's not going to be within the yard, the side yard, rear yard setback. So it doesn't need any area variances. So it's really just a pure demolition permit, which I think is easy. My only question, I guess, for the board is that number 3 of the demolition application requires, the approval of a demolition plan, and the applicant's plan is to, demolish it himself by hand. And so I'm not sure if that's sufficient or if it needs to go back to the building inspector for him to say it's fine. It's just, technically I wasn't sure how, like if we care, if just taking it down by hand is fine.
We usually just refer those to the building inspector who knows what demolition involves.
Yeah, it's the building inspector call, yours is just approval for the demolition, but
Yeah,
it's-
and then we'll refer it back to the building
yeah.
inspector. Okay, fine. That's how I drafted the resolution. So yeah, I don't think I had any questions. This is not it was built in 2005. It's not a historic structure. It's already collapsing. It's going to be replaced with a similar structure. We have the EAF, but we don't do a SECRA for a demolition. I don't think. So I don't have any other questions. I don't know if anyone else has questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay, Justin, you're on again.
Okay, be it resolved that the Town of Clinton Planning Board recommends approval for the demolition permit application dated May 25th, 2021, submitted by Joseph Augstein for the purpose of demolishing an accessory structure located on a 5.22 acre parcel at 8 Sunset Trail, Clinton Quarters, tax grid number, and refers the matter to the building inspector for review and approval of the demolition plan. Whereas the accessory structure was built in 2005, the structure does not appear on the Historic Resource Survey of 1986, located on Dutchess County Parcel Access. The applicant states that the structure does not have any national, state, or local designation of significance, nor are there any for the parcel on which it's located. The applicant states that the building is planned for demolition because it is failing and parts of it have collapsed, have mold, or are leaking. Photographs of the structure were submitted confirming the condition. The applicant will demolish the building himself from the top down without the use of heavy machinery. The building inspector must review and provide his approval for this demolition plan prior to commencing any work at this site. The applicant plans to replace the accessory structure with a larger accessory structure measuring 40 by 24 feet. A completed EAF has been submitted. The planning board has reviewed the application with regard to the requirements of section 250-93 of the zoning law and determined that the building has no historic value. All appropriate fees have been paid. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Clinton Planning Board recommends approval of the demolition permit application and refers the matter to the building inspector for further action consistent with the town zoning law.
Okay.
Second,
Discussion? Okay, all in favor? Art, aye?
Justin, I.
Gary, aye.
Jack, aye.
Cat eye.
Okay,
All right.
so moved. Okay, you're all set, Joseph.
All right, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Okay,
Thank you.
you too now. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Long Pond Holdings, LLC, a non-hosted Airbnb. Do we have anybody?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Okay. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Okay, just identify yourself and then tell us what you're doing and we'll go from there.
My name is Tom Levy and my wife and I, Johanna Nakos, have this home at 199 Long Pond, and we were looking to get approval for Airbnb rentals.
Okay, Kat?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So I think today we're declaring a lead agency and setting a hearing date, but I wanted to kind of run through some questions, a little bit of history of the property and get thoughts from the board. I have a resolution drafted. Thank you, Paul, for a great template. So the property in question is in Zone C. It's about 3.6 acres. It has more than 1,000 feet of lakefront on Long Pond. A big part of it includes DEC wetland. It used to be a campground in the 1960s, so there was a lot of accessory structures built on the property prior to zoning was in effect. But some of those structures are no longer there. In 2011, when there was a title search done by the previous owner, there was a number of violations on the property that have been corrected since. So we're good on that front. Couple of questions I had for you, Tom. You sent a really, really great sketch, really good map of the property. A couple of the structures on the property no longer exist. And I think, Arlene, I sent you a little drawing that I put together. I marked up
Yes, you want that? Yeah. I
Yes,
just want to
thank you.
show everybody the house right now.
Yes, it's really nice. Property is wonderful. So yeah, it's there you go. Let's see.
Hold on.
So once you put it up, my question was, it would be good to get an updated drawing of the property that shows the structures are no longer there and remove them from the drawing. So the one, if you look here, the one circled in pink no longer exists. That used to be the bathhouse for the campground. It had about 6 toilets, I think, from what I can tell from just looking at the footprint, and maybe some showers. It's only 35 feet from the lake shore, and it's no longer there, so that should be removed. The other structures, the barn by the road, the residential house, there's a shed on the upper level on the top of the hill, and then there is a concession stand close to the lake that are still there. Seems like the concession stand has electric, which we should mark up as well, because right now in the property card, it says there's no electric.
There is no electric there. There is the old it was one of the violations that was removed in 2011, that it had a service directly from the house. So yes, it has a wires in it or has an old panel, but it actually has nothing serving it. It currently has no electric.
Yeah, there's lights, there's outlets and everything. Okay, so it's
Yeah,
not,
but they don't work.
okay. Okay. The other question I had was, so thank you for providing, I think, the most complete septic report to date. The one thing I had a question about was where's the there's no leach field, there's a seepage pit according to the report.
Correct.
Do you know
Correct.
where it's located and how large is it? What's the capacity?
Yeah. So that what is referred to as a clean out is in fact right on top of the seepage pit.
Okay.
And so that actually is how they access the seepage pit. In fact, it turns out it's mislabeled. It should be labeled the seepage pit, because if they wanted to clean it out, they would actually dig up the lid and pull it out and clean it out. So that is in fact the seepage pit. In their comments about its size was, without digging it up, you actually cannot determine the size. However, based on their survey and how much gray water was in there, it was functioning properly and seemed to be of adequate size to serve the septic tank. They could not tell you exactly, how, the exact size it was, unless you found out the person who actually dug it or you dug it up.
Yeah. Okay. So my question, maybe this is a question for the board, is the way the house is built. It sits on a hill that has a relatively steep runoff towards the lake, and on all sides, as you can see, the kind of the grading, all the lower parts around the lake, based on the map, it's wetland, it's DC wetland. It's, relatively close to the lake. It's not it's not our task right now to determine whether it's up to current code. We're just supposed to say whether it's working properly. Now, the assessment was done on the current working conditions, which, the house is listed as a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom house in the property records, as it, the same is done in the septic report. Now you're renting it as a 3-bedroom and 2 full bathroom house, or at least that's the intended use. So the question, once we get to the final resolution and the conversation in a few weeks, we'll have to determine the capacity of the Airbnb or of the rental. And these questions will be one of the key questions we have to determine. So, the septic is 1,000 gallons, which is fine for 3 bedrooms. The seepage fill, we don't know. And it's been functioning fine with this, 2-bedroom, 3-person occupancy. So I don't know if there's any thoughts from the board. Again, this is Zone C, close to a lake, DC wetlands. Again, it's not our, role to require, up to code seepage pits or plumbing or septics, but we need to use this information to determine capacity of the.
We did do a wetland survey to see our setbacks, to make sure that everything was in, within 100 feet, and also for the possible idea of potential renovations. And we could send that to you if you wanted it, but everything is set back beyond the 100-foot mark.
All right, that will be helpful. So I think, if we mark up the application with the structures no longer existing, if we could mark up the wetland area and show the setbacks, again, just to help us determine what the capacity of the Airbnb could be or should be.
Right.
The final question for the board, again, it in the property card, this house is shown as a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom house. The applicant states it's a 3-bedroom, 2 full bathroom house. So maybe there's a kind of a feedback loop to to the appropriate channels to make sure the house is listed.
What year is the house? What year is the house? What year is the house? Tom?
The house was around 1960 or so, and
It
we were
predates
actually
the
going to
zoning.
go, we didn't realize that the C of O was marked as it is because it's obviously its original configuration, and it is a 3-bedroom home. So we didn't even sort of realize until we started this process that it actually was, and neither did the previous owners, that it was listed as a 2-bedroom, bath and a half, because it in fact is clear that it's a, it's not. But and luckily the septic is sized for the 3-bedroom. However you want to, it doesn't matter to us in terms of, how it's listed on Airbnb, but that, that can be changed obviously very easily. But we were going to go to the process of possibly amending the C of O because it clearly is just, if you looked at the house, which I obviously didn't go inside, but it is, it's a small little ranch, 1 floor, but it always had 3 bedrooms.
All right, let me just tell you that it's not what you could give me 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms, but if the C of O, which we have a C of O that was issued in 2011 saying 2-bedroom.
Right.
So
And I'm just saying,
legally, you only have 2 bedrooms.
somehow that was inaccurately done, and we were going to just go through the process of potentially amending that. But for now, it is what it is. We have no issue.
For you to amend the 3 bedrooms, you can just amend to make it a 2-bedroom. You're gonna have to prove us the size of the septic, Board of Health approval and everything.
Yep, understood.
You're gonna have to upgrade that. But right now, the C of O that was issued is for a 2-bedroom.
So Arlene, are you saying that if they wanted to change it to official 3-bedroom, they would have to go and bring
Yeah,
up?
we're gonna need the SEN 34 and submit it to the Department of Health to make
Mhm.
sure they're capable of having 3 bedrooms. That's how we always do.
Yeah, we're not doing that now. I mean, I'm just making a note. That's all.
Yeah, but it's irrelevant because they're gonna have to determine the number of people that you could allow to stay in your Airbnb.
Correct. I believe on our listing, we would list it as 5 people and, which, based on capacity in the bedroom, we have no issue with whatever, if you say 4, then we say 4, we don't have an issue with that. We just were basing it on the size of the house initially and that's simply how we put it. So, and I
Yeah.
believe that, a pull-out couch or whatever qualifies. We don't want, 20 million people in our house to begin with. So, this is our home and we just do, we need some of the income for now until we move up there permanently. But yeah, we're not interested in, a party house by any means.
And just to let you know, if you finish the basement and we have a record that it's unfinished basement, you're gonna be in violation and you better come forward and file a building permit for the finished basement.
Yeah, we haven't finished the basement or asked to
Or I'm
finish.
just saying, because there's a lot of people who will finish the basement without telling us, so. just to let you know.
Okay, but he's not proposing to
No,
do
I
that.
know,
So
I know.
why don't we
I know.
deal with what we have?
I think, listen, the house, yes, the house is less than 1,200 square feet, right? It's a very small house. I believe you will not have, a party house.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
now-
they're just trying to do the right thing here. So let's.
exactly. So I think all I'm saying is, I think we need to be, as we think about what we can, what we recommend as a capacity for the house, we're going to consider all these things. Now, I know that you have been listing it as a 3-bedroom, 2 full bathroom house. So that may have to change. And we've had these conversations before. It's hard for us to kind of enforce once we, going forward. But again, it's a relatively small house. You just need to be cognizant of the fact that it may not be a 3-bedroom house.
That's not a problem. Like I said, it physically has 3 bedrooms, so we list, that's the way we treated it in the past. So we have if we need to call it a 2-bedroom, we'll call it a 2-bedroom. It's so fine.
Okay, let's move on and do we have any other questions from?
Yeah, I have a question. Tom, is your name on the application or just LLC?
I believe my wife's name is on the application, Johanna Nakos. Both of our names seem to be here, actually. I'm not sure.
Because we need to see a responsible party, not just LLC.
Yeah. No. My wife's more responsible than I am. So she's she's on the both our names are here on the application,
Thank you.
but she's more responsible.
And you're willing to admit it.
Yeah, completely.
So I do have a lead agency declaration here that I can read if it's the right time.
Are we going to have a debate about whether we're going to do SECRA for Airbnbs?
And that was my next question, right? I think that was my one outstanding question. I still have it in here, but do we want to do it today or save it for like a special conversation, special session? I'll leave it for members.
Good question.
Why don't you just follow what we did with the Vega, what we did one?
But when are we going to talk about this type 2 thing?
After our meeting, after we're done.
So I guess we could start seeker, but if we decide it's type 2, we can just pull the plug on it.
Yeah. Why don't we set a date for the public hearing, and Tom can revise his map there for us.
Sure.
And by that time, we should know what we're doing. How's that? Arlene, can they get on in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Sure. Arlene?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tom, can you get back to us with the revised map?
I can have it tomorrow, so no problem.
Okay, all right. So why don't we set a public hearing for the next meeting? Kat, what that date would be, the
15th.
15th, right? Yeah, the 15th.
Mhm. Okay. Can I read this?
Yeah, just set,
Public hearing first.
Sorry?
Public hearing. You need a motion for the public hearing to be set on the 15th.
He's going to read that.
Going to read it, yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
A simple motion. I move the motion to have the public hearing set on blah, blah.
Public hearing. Should I read the whole declaration?
no, just make a motion for the public hearing. That's all we need right now.
Okay, just do that. Okay, so motion for the public hearing on June 15th for the Long Pond Holdings LLC short-term rental application.
Okay,
Second.
discussion. All in favor? Art, aye.
Jack, aye.
All right.
Jerry, aye.
Okay. All right,
So
so,
I'm sorry, we have, Arlene, you have to do the county referral
Yes.
ASAP because, yeah,
I know. Are we doing lead agency? What are we doing?
Well, that's the discussion we have to have.
yeah.
I know, but I since we do the public hearing already, we're gonna
what did we do for the last one?
that's
We
what
did
I'm
it, we
saying.
did
That's
it
what I
all in one,
suggested.
we did it all in one resolution.
Mhm.
I mean, we could just do a lead agency resolution.
They'll
I think
circulate it.
all we did was the fire department, right, Kat? Was it fire and
Environment, highway, and
highway?
planning.
Yeah, because I need to circulate those. So I'm gonna, so we need to do it. So just let's do it. Let's what we did with the Vega before. We did the lead agency. And then whatever you decided about the seeker after, let's start it with the next item, next meeting, whatever.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe just the resolution.
Resolution is,
with
lead
the
agency.
circulation. Sorry.
okay. So should I read it?
Yeah, sure, yes.
Okay. The whole lead agency, okay, so whereas the Town of Clinton Planning Board has received an application for a special use permit for Long Pond Holdings LLC for the purpose of utilizing a part-time residence located at 199 Long Pond Road in the Town of Clinton as a non-hosted short-term rental pursuant to section 250-69.1 of the zoning law, and whereas the subject property is identified as tax parcel number 13240-6468-00178992 and is located in the C zone district, and whereas the short form EAF Part 1 has been received, and whereas the applicants do not propose any alteration, excavation, or construction on the site in connection with the request permit, and whereas the applicants have submitted an inspection report dated within 90 days of the date of the application stating that the existing sewage disposal system serving the principal dwelling is adequate functioning for the current use of the property at the time of inspection, which is listed as 2-bedroom and 1.5 bath. And whereas the zoning administrator has inspected the property and his letter to the applicants dated May 18th, 2021, certified that it is in compliance with the permitting requirements set forth in section 250-69.1 for the use of the parcel as a non-hosted short-term rental within the Town of Clinton. And whereas all applicable fees have been paid, and whereas the planning board has determined the proposed project is an unlisted action and that an uncoordinated review of the action will be undertaken. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board determined that the application is sufficient for purposes of commencing the selection of a lead agency pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617, and it further resolved that the planning board hereby declares its intent to assume the role of lead agency for this unlisted uncoordinated action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law and Section 670.6, 2 and 3 of 6 NYCRR Part 617, and directs that a copy of the short form EAF Part 1, the application and related documents to be sent to the following interested agencies: the West Clinton Fire District, Town of Clinton Highway Department, and Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. And be it further resolved that the planning board will hold a public hearing on this application at its meeting scheduled for June 15th, 2021.
Second.
What about Department of Health?
Question.
No, they're-
What about Department of
Why
Health?
Department of Health? They're not doing it. They're not
Because we really,
doing anything to the property. I mean,
oh,
I don't know. I mean,
She didn't say Department of Health.
what? No, I was asking if we need to.
Why would you think?
Oh, it's fine, it's fine. You said the size of the septic is what, 1,200
1,000.
for the 2 bedrooms? Yeah, it's fine for the 2 bedroom. If it does 2 bedrooms, yes.
Fine for 3.
All right, so it's just the DC planning, the CAC, and the West Clinton. And we don't need the DEC because it's not too close to it. It's not getting affected.
well, I'm sorry.
get-
Go ahead.
We will get the information from Tom. And then I think, we'll need to determine that. I mean, the septic is more than 100 feet, I would say 200 feet from the lake, but I don't think the point here is to make sure it's compliant with the current code, right? It's just to make sure it's functioning properly.
Okay.
That's the way, that's the way it reads. It doesn't say, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's just, I don't know how far we're supposed to go with this. I suppose there could be a case where something is so egregiously bad that we say, no, you've got to rebuild it, or, but this one seems to be okay. And, I was just saying, I don't know what like the Board of Health would do with this. What are they supposed to do with it? I mean, they can't.
We can rely on the report, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's
the
what.
law just says you have to have a report dated within 90 days stating that it's adequately functioning for the intended use.
Exactly.
Okay. So just revise that and then we can vote on the resolution.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Art, aye.
Justin, I.
Jerry, I.
Jack, aye.
Cat eye.
All right.
Okay. So moved. Okay, Tom, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, I'll send that tomorrow, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, take care now.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Vanderwall, also a non-hosted Airbnb. Do we have anybody in our Zoom audience here for that?
No, I don't see anyone.
Oh, she
They were
didn't
here.
not show up.
Here in the beginning,
Yeah.
somebody was here.
Do you want me to call her?
Arlene, where are we gonna go with this? Because there's, nothing's complete, no application.
All right, it's up to you.
Yeah.
So you know what? She doesn't show up, then I guess she's out. She's gonna have to go next meeting. Which one is this? This is the next Airbnb, right? It's my agenda. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we can't proceed anyway. Well, I spoke with her today and she was trying to find a septic inspector. And she's saying everybody's very busy right now, blah, blah, blah.
And she only answered 5 of the 20 questions on the EAF.
I know, and she claims that she doesn't know how to do it and this and that and all this stuff. So I said, just answer it the best you can. I mean, I cannot answer for everybody.
Well, Jerry, are you determining that the application is incomplete?
It is,
Okay,
because the inspection that was submitted is 10 months old.
okay,
It has to be within 90 days. And it
Okay.
also is insufficient as far as detail. There's no information as far as the size of the tank.
okay. Would you just, off the top of your head, list what you need, what's incomplete on that, and then Arlene can get back to the applicant? And we shouldn't be wasting our time on it right now. But
Well, the tank detail, I guess, is the sort of standards. It's the size and the, one that's been inspected by the Department of Health. It has to be an inspection within 90 days.
okay, that's two things.
then
And she did not, it's not filled out correctly, nor not completed?
the EAF, there was only 5 questions answered out of 20.
Okay. Arlene,
Yes, I heard it.
would you refer all of that information to
Sure,
Frederic?
sure.
Okay,
Yep, got it.
okay, incomplete. All right,
We could talk about the secret for the short-term rentals from the town attorney. Paul,
I
Yeah.
think we,
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, before we go on to secret, can we just talk about the standard we're gonna use for the septic system? Because I know we keep talking about Board of Health versus a private company, right, and the timing, but I think it's important to actually look at what the law is requiring, which is just a report from a private company within 90 days that it appears to be in good working order for the house of its size, right? There's nothing that says we need to verify the size of the tank. We don't need a certificate from the Board of Health. We can decide.
It says for the intended use, and I think that word is very different from the word the current use. So just to go back to 199 Pond Road, we just looked at, right?
Yeah.
The current use of the house and the septic report itself says this house is used by 3 occupants. It has 2 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms. The intended use, according to the applicant, is 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, and up to 5 people. That's 60% increase over current use. So to me, that's
which should influence us to put the size of the capacity back down, right? But it doesn't change what they need to prove for septic, right? All they have for septic, all they can prove for septic ever, right, is the 2-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom, right? Full stop.
Right, but we can then say you cannot use this as a 3-bedroom house and have 5 people stay here.
Yes.
Right.
That's within our discretion.
I think we need to say, we need to see if it's fit for the intended use. And if it's not, we just set a smaller capacity. And then it comes back to, can we police it? Can we enforce what we tell them? Because, once they have a 3-bedroom house, they're gonna have 6 people staying.
Well, the CEO can look at the Airbnb listings and see how they're advertising it. That's one way.
Yeah.
And the language is very different than what we have for an accessory dwelling unit, where it's very clear they have to meet the Board of Health standards. And as Justin points out, here the town did not use that language. They used much more flexible language. But I think you're quite right. It goes to how many people we will approve.
I'm assuming our baseline, right? We're going to look at the C of O and the number of bedrooms and the number of bathrooms. Is there going to be our maximum, right? We're not going to deviate from.
Yeah, I would just say I agree with everything you're saying. In a difference in the section where it talks about setting the capacity, it does talk about the capacity of the septic system, and later on the size of the septic tank and leach or absorption area. Now, I think the leach or absorption area for everything but a brand new house is going to be impossible to determine for just about every house, right? Unless, as Tom pointed out, unless you're going to dig it up, you can't really tell. But I'm just saying that the law does say we should look, if we can, at the size of the septic tank and the capacity of the system, as well as the C of O, as factors.
I guess maybe I'm tying them together, right? But I would assume that when you got the C of O, you had to prove that for the septic system at the time. And so as long as we're not increasing the bedroom, right, as long as it matches that initial thing, then we rely on that. But I don't know if that's true.
But that was Arlene's point. Like, for example, the case we just looked at, the COO says 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. And they already say, well, no, it's a 3-bedroom and 2 full baths. And that's what we think it is. So we can say, well, if you want to do the 3-bedroom and 2 full baths, you have to go through the entire process with the Department of Health, right?
I agree.
Yes.
That's a different house.
He was pretty easygoing. He was pretty easygoing about it. He said, if you want to limit us to 4 people, we'll do it. So
here's the thing. The only way we're going to run into a problem is for old houses. So there are like houses like that was built in the 18th century, like for instance, the Gorelick. So we don't have any record. The Department of Health doesn't have any record. It predates the zoning. We don't know how many bedrooms. They don't even know what's the size of the septic. For instance, the Adrian's Farm. The Adrian's Farm didn't have anything like that. They got a violation cited from the Department of Health because they were doing all that events or whatever, and they don't have an upgraded septic. So that's the same scenario that we're going to run into all these Airbnb that doesn't have an upgraded or septic or size of the septic. They don't even know probably what they have.
Yeah, but I think Jack was right. I think the law was deliberately drafted to be open-ended on how you can get this verified. If you happen to have a Board of Health certificate, great. But for most people who don't, you get an inspection done. I do think it's reasonable because when they clean out tanks, they can tell what size tank it is. It's not hard. And just to give us whatever information they can. And if you know, the size of the tank at a minimum, and then the condition of the tank, and, you know, whatever else they can give us. But on the other hand, no, we can't say, well, you have to map out the leach field and tell us exactly what kind of pipes they use. That's not reasonable. Nobody's gonna be able to do that. And but to the other point, you know, just saying I clean the tank and it's fine is probably not quite enough. I mean, you know what I mean? We need
I
a
was a
little-
little concerned about the inspection that was submitted. It talked about a smaller cistern rather than a
Right.
septic tank. A cistern is a water storage tank, so that confused me a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the issue. Like if you get a true like cesspool situation, you know, I mean, and it's functioning, like what do you do? You know, what do you do?
Yeah.
I don't know if we can say no based on the way it's written.
Right, and I think, again, going back to this one, it's, I mean, I don't know, the site, the seepage pit is on top of a steep hill with, you know, probably, if not 20-degree angle towards the pond, right? I'll be shocked if it's 200 feet away from the lake. So anyway, I mean, we can, you know, it functions properly, but, you know, I think we just need to be thoughtful as we decide how many people they can have in the house.
Right.
Because just because it works with 3 people and it's fine, 3 people who show up every other weekend, and all of a sudden you have people showing up every single day, and there's 5 people, it's a different situation. So anyway,
I mean, yeah, I think that's all. I agree. I think, you know, the one thing we have to think of, I mean, if there's a C of O, you know, what does the C of O say? I think is a really critical point. And if there's a C of O for a house with a cesspool for 3 bedrooms, are we really in a position to say, well, no, you can't use 3 bedrooms because you have a cesspool? I don't think we are, but your
and
point,
right? They know that
yeah.
says 2, that they want to have 3 bedrooms.
Right.
And you know, another critical point I think is they need to empty the septic tank, because now there's going to be a lot of people who is going to be using that. So a lot of disposal and everything. So, I mean, the normal, the regular thing for a family is 2 years to empty the septic tank. But now that the property is going to be busy, I think they should empty it every year, you know.
Okay, well,
Otherwise, it's
yeah,
going to be,
whatever.
they're going to have a backlog there.
Can I, Arlene? See ya. I was just gonna say, you know, having the C of O for each one of these is probably a good idea, because then we'll know, right? What the C of O would seem to be the key document.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the point that Kat brought up is that I think we have the authority to limit the amount of people. Whether we can enforce it or not is another, you know, another thing. I think when we get all that information, then we can say, okay, this is for 4 people or 6 people or whatever the case may be. It's certainly like the one at 199 Long Pond there. I mean, if he wanted to rent it out to 10 people, it ain't gonna happen. I mean, that system will never hold it. And we all know that. So, okay. So the next thing is we want to talk about seeker, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, you know, you saw the email to Shane and his response, and he flagged the type 2 on the type 2 exceptions list. He flagged, I think it's part 18, which is the one that I was looking at when I thought maybe we should ask the question. And I mean, it would seem to apply, but I think, you know, it's obviously everybody has to comment and agree. And the only other thing I'd say, there may be exceptions, right, where somebody's doing a major project where we say, okay, we want to do seeker. It wouldn't bind us in every single case from not doing seeker, but I think for the run of the mill case, seeker is probably not necessary. We're going to do everything else that we're going to be doing. There's going to be a hearing every time. There's going to be a review. The county's going to review every one of them regardless. So that's, I think I kind of agree with Shane, but I just was curious what other people thought.
I agree with you. I mean, most of these Airbnbs are in existing homes. And so the physical dimensions, the kinds of issues that seeker tends to look at are not going to come up in most of these cases. And if we see that there's one that is going to raise that, then we can carve out an exception. But for most of them, it's just going to be another piece of paperwork.
Yeah. Is there a requirement for a public hearing on these applications though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Find the section.
You have to, because the neighbors, you want to know what the neighbors.
I know that
want.
we want one, but I'm looking in the law to find the public hearing section, right? I don't know. I just want to make sure it's there and that we weren't relying on a secret hearing to have that be the hearing.
I have it in my head that it did provide for a hearing, but I don't
Yeah,
have
it did. I think it's there, and it's also
Well,
on the
it's,
part of the
well,
special
it's a special use permit, so it does hook in the special use permit
permit. It's on the special
process.
permit.
I thought they'd put it in the law, but that's a good point. I'm not seeing it.
No, it's not. It's not in the law.
It's not in the law. Okay,
So
it does, but
unless
it is a
it's
special
something-
use permit application.
Yeah, but during the what do you call it, the workshop for the Airbnb, we talked about that, and that's the reason why it needs, because of the neighbors' input. You need to, they want to know how the neighbors feel about it.
I know that we want it, but it has to be in the law or somewhere.
Well, it says on number 4, any special permit, this is tied with the special permit application, which is from section 250-97 that requires a public hearing.
Okay, that's all I needed. So it's tied to
And
97.
even with the Dutchess County planning, they want a site plan. So she actually told me that I need to get a
Okay,
site
but
plan.
the law was deliberately drafted not to require a formal site plan.
I know,
That
but you
was a
see the email
deliberate
from,
thing because people are not changing, for the most part, the physical layout of the property. And a site plan is supposed to be prepared by an engineer or a surveyor.
well, it
They
doesn't.
didn't
have
want to
to
make
be
people do that.
She said, she just wished to see the
Okay.
site plan, this way she knows what's on the property. That's what the district planning wants.
Okay, but that's not what our law says. I don't know what, and they reviewed the law before it was approved.
Mhm.
Tell me.
Okay, to our crack legal team here. The,
Crack or crap?
Yeah, that's what I thought you said crap.
if in case A, B, and C, we do not require seeker, okay? Case D, we, as a board, say they should fill out at least the short form. Can we do that without, is that,
Yeah, we do it for demolition permits. They fill their short form EAF and we
Yeah.
file it, but we don't do
Yeah.
secret.
They do that on
But-
variance too.
I'm
Just
just
fill
saying,
out
if we don't do it for A, B, and C, and then ask D to do it, is that
Oh.
put us
Oh.
in a position where they're gonna say, hey, those guys didn't do it,
I think we should still ask them just to be on the record, and then you could, just like with the variance, what they do, the EAF was provided, short form EAF was provided, but since this is a type 2 action, no further action is required.
No, I think, aren't you asking if most people don't have to do seeker, then we say somebody should do seeker, they're going to say, why do I have to do it? Was that your?
Yeah, that's,
It's not so much, it's not submitting the form, it's the actual,
Yeah, the fairness.
I mean, we could ask Shane. I think, but I would really think most of the time it would be type 2. It would be really the exception, and there'd have to be justification.
so,
Sorry.
in the opinion of the board, everybody should at least submit a short form, and then we can waive it.
I
I'm
don't
just
think
trying
so.
to,
Oh, you mean so that we can scope the issue using the form and then make this a decision that it's type 2 using the form
Yeah, and waive it.
and then
95.
waive it.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Justin,
I
yeah.
like
That's a good idea, right?
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a real burden for an applicant to fill out the short form.
Yeah,
That's not a big deal.
it
I just-
kind of like
I
help
just
you with
wanna-
the questions.
I just don't wanna put us in a position where somebody's gonna say, well, you didn't do it for this guy. Why do I have to do it? So if everybody has to fill out the form, we can waive doing it or do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that solution.
Okay. So that's, then, that's what we'll do. Okay. Would everybody like to go home?
I-
You're already home, but,
Wait,
Before we
So
break,
let me
can I
just do a
can I
recap.
ask about the status, Arlene, of the applications for these short-term rental permits? We're about a month away for the deadline. And
I understand.
Anecdotally,
Don't
we
make
must-
a wishful thinking because don't make a wishful thinking. Believe me, everybody's on our butt for this thing. We're in the process of sending a letters to everybody who is technically operating an Airbnb. And so when they all come forward, we're going to be drowning. So don't make a wishful thinking.
that was my question, but we are going to send people a letter that says, do this or die, right?
Yes, we're in the process of, actually, we have from the county who's working with us, trying to figure out, and we're already drafted letters and everything to be sent out. So don't be making a wishful thinking right now.
I think it's going to take us the better part of a year to get through most of them. And I mean, as close as we are all to the town law and Airbnb, you have to assume that most of the people are not tracking the legislative developments of the town of Clinton and may not be aware that they have, an application to fill out, right, until they get this letter. So, I'm a little sympathetic.
Yeah. Would it make sense to have like a short cheat sheet of all the things? I mean, I know that there's so many different steps, and I think even just understanding what does it look like when you submit a good septic report? What does it look like when you like you have to do EAF, like all the things that because it's not, I don't feel like the law gives you like one place you can look and like actually see it all.
I thought Dean they were doing some kind of a checklist for people. Did that happen, Arlene? Do you know?
no, I did not see it. I remember distinctly that we were going to get one. However, I have not seen it. So,
I mean, I would be in favor, not to volunteer, but I would be in favor of us putting it together since we have to approve these and hand it off to Dean and everyone else and say, how about this for your form?
I mean, there's a list of requirements, but it's not tailored to how do you submit your application to the planning board. It's more, what are you supposed to have in your house and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, did you see the form that we normally send out and
Yeah.
we let the applicant make sure that they read it and agree to it and acknowledge it?
Sort of
So
a
it's
checklist.
spelled out over there what they need to do and what they need to submit. So
But-
Yeah.
I
that's
agree.
like the
I
checklist.
do think since the majority of people are doing it themselves, they don't have a professional doing it. That Kat's idea is really good. To just say, here's what we want. Here's what we want, and then you give it to them or you email it to them, and we won't have these problems because, well, we might, but we'll have fewer of them potentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm sympathetic, right? Like they send this to us and they think they're done, and then we say, oh, where's your EAF? Oh, where's this and where's that? It's kind of they
Right.
probably like we're just keep coming back with things, and yeah.
Well, you got to remember, it's fairly new to us. The regulation doesn't call for the short form EAF. It doesn't say in there that you need to submit that. So everything is fairly new. We're in a learning curve in here.
So why don't we'll do a checklist. To Kat's point, we'll do a checklist of here are the items you have to submit, and for your septic report, you have to indicate, it has to indicate tank size, condition, whatever else we want to put in there. We need a seeker form. You can get one from Arlene, fill it out, and then whatever else we need. Right?
Yeah, but there's
And
gonna
then
be-
if somebody comes in, you just send that to them and they have to comply with it.
Okay. You want to take that on, Justin, or? Volunteering is not a smart thing, you know.
I know,
Just so you know.
I know. I
but it's
can,
basically,
Okay.
we just need the application form, the acknowledge form, the secra, the septic.
you've already named too many
Passport.
things. Yeah, I'll take a stab at it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Justin.
it's streamline, a streamlined set of rules and regulations would be great. Okay, anybody got anything else?
Well, when is the 6-month date up?
June.
June 30th, I think.
Into June? Well, I
Yeah,
think
hold on.
you're gonna need to draw a line there.
I don't wanna know.
Everybody who has an application and ahead of there gets queued. People who don't get the violations.
I think it's over. I think it was May 10th.
No, I thought it was June.
It passed November 10th, 2020.
All right, so we should send a letter saying that anybody who did not come forward will be penalized of $400. And they're all gonna be wanting to be on the agenda. Are you ready with that?
No.
Well, the key thing is to get the application in. Schedule them as you can, but as long as the application's in, they're safe.
Well, I have a couple right now, probably 5 or 6. It's the key is getting their house into compliance. It's not like giving me the application and boom, I could send it to you. We have to do inspection. They have to make sure that their house is in compliance, the carbon monoxide, the laundry, all kinds of stuff. So
Right.
it's not as simple as submitting an application.
And our building inspector has to go to every one of these sites.
Yeah, the municipal code, the CEO actually, not the building inspector.
All right, the CEO, but somebody physically has to go to every
Yeah,
one.
yeah, he does, exactly.
Check every outlet, every smoke detector.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So till he said it's okay, this house is okay, and then that's the only time they could go before the planning board.
And that's done. Okay. Okay, anything else?
Have we agreed about the 423 Gorelick? He want to know how do you want to proceed with that? Jack, I sent you the email.
Yeah, and I sent you back an email saying, you should tell him that he's got to get somebody to certify it meets Board of Health standards, not just,
You're okay with the engineer?
but I'm sorry?
You're okay with the engineer?
Yeah, and then we've discussed this. An engineer is okay
Okay,
if he can certify it meets the Board of Health standards, which
okay,
in Gorelick's case means how many bedrooms is he talking about?
yeah.
And I think you should also tell him, if you haven't already, that the town board's position, not ours, but their position, they wrote the law, is that he's going to need 2 applications if he wants to use
Oh, he
his,
knows that. He knows that. He knows that.
Okay.
That's the reason why he want to legalize the accessory dwelling.
yeah, oh, no, but he's going to need he's going to need 2 Airbnb applications for the property. That's what Dean told us last
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the 2 permit application, how do we do this? A 2 permit application on the same property. So we're gonna label it as a short-term rental for the main house, short-term rental for the accessory dwelling. I guess that's how we're
Exactly.
gonna do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then 2 separate hearings, 2 separate approvals.
You could do them all the same day, but yes, separate things.
Yeah, and he knows that, and that's the reason why he paused on the main house and trying to legalize the accessory dwelling.
Okay.
Well, in principle, he could do the main house before the accessory dwelling. He could just move ahead with,
That's true, just to move forward with it, so.
because if he has 2 CFOs, right, that's the thing, right? He needs 2 CFOs and yeah.
And we told him that when he appeared before us, so.
Yeah, because apparently the Department of Health doesn't have a record of any septic approval because it's 18th century, just like as I said, which is very typical for a very old house.
Yeah, he can use an engineer, but the engineer is going to have to say it meets Board of Health standards. Which means in his,
I think it's time for a motion to adjourn.
yes,
What? Whoa, my minutes, my 4.
One
Jerry,
more, is there a,
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
do you have a date for the site visit to
Wait,
Adrian's?
let me get the
Oh,
second.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Is there, if we're gonna do this site visit to the farm, let me just start with, is a weekday better or a weekend? Because it sounds like they can accommodate us pretty much any time we're available, so,
I think it's better for you to go on the weekend. This way you could feel the place.
feel the place. Okay. Well, I'm just thinking in terms of people's schedules, you know, whether, I mean, I can do it. I
Where you're
mean,
gonna
is
see
there
the
any preference on
traffic,
that?
all the cars, the music.
Weekend or Friday is best for me.
Weekend or Friday?
I'm easy any day.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Make
I'm
sure you
good
don't
at
drink beer.
anytime.
I'll be away the next 2 weekends.
You're away the next 2 weekends? Okay. I'll propose a couple of dates to her and I'll come back to everybody in an email and just say, which of these 2 do you want? How about that? Or 3? Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, did we have a motion to approve the minutes of 5:4?
Jerry did.
We
Yes.
did.
Jerry, I need a
We have a
second.
second?
Second,
Okay, discussion? All in favor? Art,
uh,
Jerry, I.
Justin, I.
All
okay,
right.
so moved. Okay, Jerry, go for
There's
it.
a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Second, please.
Second.
in the motion.
Discussion? All in favor? Art, aye.
All right.
Guy.
Jerry, I.
And I.